Lon, maybe tell us a little bit from your experience, maybe three things that, or pitfalls that companies can avoid as they go into the Japan market, things that you've seen in your history that, can make companies stumble as they enter in. We know a lot of times you get one chance to do this. So what are some of these three key things that they can address?
Yeah, it's really interesting. When you look at the Japanese market, a lot of people see the value there and see the opportunity, but then they really don't make the commitment to the market to be successful. And to be successful in that market, three things you really need to take seriously is one, localizing whatever you're doing, the product, the software, the service, to where it's not only in their language, but it culturally meets their needs. And one of the biggest pitfalls we see, even with the onset of Google Translate and everything, is they just use an automatic translator and get it into Japanese and think they're up and running. And oftentimes it can be quite an embarrassment. And so not only do you translate into the language, but then you adapt it to the culture. And so it's not just a straight across translation. The second thing is the Japanese like to see a commitment to the market. They're not going to, especially with a direct marketer, they're not going to commit their time to something if they think it's only going to be their short term. And so being able to show your commitment by one, localizing, and two, setting up an on the ground team like Verb has to show your commitment to the market, that you're willing to put the money in to support the customer in Japan. And then lastly, being able to take advantage of that unique market, you have to understand the way they do business. Ken touched on that a bit, a lot of face-to-face. And this is really a great opportunity now when you can't do face-to-face to provide a technology that allows them to do that. And we've seen time and time again, companies that didn't really look at the market and how they need to adapt their typical business strategy to meet the needs of the Japanese, that's when they fall flat. And so if you can take those three things into consideration and do them right, as we said earlier, you can be more successful in Japan than you are in your headquarters in the US.
Yeah, and that's been the key thing. We've worked, having been around this industry now for, nearly 30 years, I've seen companies that have gone in there and they've dipped their toe, right? They may have said, hey, we're going to make a DVD, make a video, do something and open the market, quote unquote. When in reality, they're just dipping their toe in, right? You've got to show that commitment. And the impressive thing is the companies that have really succeeded. And so that's the promise of that market. There's some international markets that can be scary where you can get in, build really quick and then, crash. But if you show that commitment, you really can build a long lasting legacy international opportunity there, which I think is super important. And there obviously are the big names, you've got the New Skins, the Melaleucas, the Amways that have done really well there, but there's also recent companies. So this isn't just something, hey, you started 30 years ago and now, you've lasted. But no, there's companies who have come on in the last, 5 to 7 years that have done really well as well.